You saw people on the right, you saw people on the left, you saw Facebook Lindas, you saw Gen Z kids on Instagram and TikTok all saying the same thing, like, well, he had it coming.
When you're at that level and you have that much power and you have that much influence over people, like you said, it's distractibility politics. He's going after minorities, he's going after marginalized people.
I just feel like we need to create the strongest coalition possible. There is no war but class war.
Murder is still wrong. We need to not deal with our problems this way. But can we now talk about a real issue? Can we not ignore this senseless act and actually come together?
You want to see what real independent journalism funded by the people, for the people looks like?
You ever heard a story like this in America?
You're looking at it.
Congratulations for always being somewhere where mainstream media is not.
Flint, Michigan.
See you in Nevada.
Thanks to people like you, we could get the truth. Corporate media, they've been lying to us for years, and you're going straight to the people.
You are the man. I'm glad you're here.
For as low as 16 cents a day, you'll keep us on the ground, covering the important stories the corporate media covers up.
Frankly, the right wing has launched a cancer culture crusade against anyone not sufficiently mourning him. I mean, I've been clear, I don't condone what happened. But at the same time, Kirk and the current living, right-wing influencers podcast, they focus on otherizing people.
Do you know what didn't do nothing is? Didn't do nothing? Didn't do nothing is like a hashtag, a phrase that people in that political sphere, the Charlie Kirks and the Fuenteses, didn't do nothing is the hashtag you put under a black man when they're killed. So under Trayvon Martin, under Eric Garner, say, oh, but he didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. So the same people are like, you're monsters. This is abysmal. How could you say this? Had entire pages and pages and pages of victims that they have done this for.
I was bringing it up in the broader context of, I think they make a lot of profit off of creating mass distraction campaigns. It's the transgenders, it's the Muslims, it's the immigrants, it's the Black Lives Matters, it's abortion. But I saw after the murder of Brian Thompson, for the first time in 10 years doing this, I saw the left and right come together strongly against this, against the for-profit, I think, predatory, murderous health insurance companies. And it was a great thing to see. Whatever you thought of what Mangione allegedly did, there was strong agreement, left, right, libertarian, all sides. Something needs to change here. But now you're seeing a mass division, right to left, over this killing. What are your thoughts on, to me, Kirk and others, whatever you think of Kirk, I condemn what happened, but they exist to distract from the material conditions on the ground here. How do we bring the left and right together like it seemed they were in agreement after this killing?
I think that you're right, and I think that was one of the most powerful things, and I think that was one of the most dangerous things about this case for the ruling class is they thought that their base would say, wrong is wrong and murder is murder, and that's not how it turned out. It actually, we unified and people agreed for once, and I think that's why the charges were so huge and why they tried to make an example of him.
Whatever people thought about Charlie Kirk, I've made my thoughts clear. I don't condone killing him or anyone, but the point is, Charlie Kirk and a lot of the right-wing influencers are known for focusing on transgender, Black Lives Matter, immigrants, abortion, a lot of these cultural issues. I would call it a mass distraction campaign. I didn't hear a lot from him on this, on the fact that, we have a predatory health insurance system. But when you talk to people on the left, on the hard right, there's mass agreement on this. I remember when I covered Bernie in 2016, or Trump, I'd go to Trump rallies. I'd ask them, who's your second choice? A lot of them said Bernie. So it seems like if we could get rid of this, I think, mass distraction campaign, creating others to blame, and focus on the actual enemy, which I believe is a corrupt government, there could be a lot more unity in this country.
I think that the closest I came to experiencing any sort of solidarity as a nation, any sort of class solidarity, was the nation's reaction to the shooting of the UHC healthcare CEO. You saw people on the right, you saw people on the left, you saw Facebook Lindas, you saw Gen Z kids on Instagram and TikTok all saying the same thing, like, well, he had it coming. I think that there is no war but class war, and at the end of the day, as a middle-class New Yorker, leftist New Yorker, I have more in common with a blue-collar conservative from the Deep South than I do with a billionaire from my own city. So I just feel like when people realize that our greatest strength lies in numbers, and like obviously you can't put aside a lot of really hateful things that people have said, like when you're denying somebody's humanity, but when you're able to not, a lot of times on the left we have this kind of like ideological perfection that we kind of strive to, and it causes a lot of people to feel iced out. Like, people make mistakes, people need to be taught to be able to learn things. So I just feel like we need to create the strongest coalition possible. There is no war but class war, and I wish that we could go back to that feeling that we had after the first couple weeks after the shooting, where people were like talking about their own experiences with their healthcare systems, and it just made me feel like a sense of community, and in a sense that we've been so like isolated for so long. Like, we just see horrors beyond human comprehension on our phone every single day.
The Kirk killing is certainly one of those that's like a hot button topic, and no matter what you say, it feels like, you're stuck and we have this power dynamic. But I would love for the Luigi case to be something that the left and the right can come together and say, hey, murder is still wrong. We need to not deal with our problems this way, but can we now talk about a real issue? Can we not ignore this senseless act and actually come together? And I hope that media covering this will eventually spark that conversation.
Let me ask you a broader question, because obviously since last week, the murder of Charlie Kirk, the right-wing activist, obviously there's a gigantic fever swamp on the internet right now. The right is kind of calling on a crusade against the radical left, so to speak. But what I find so interesting, whether it's Kirk or other right-wingers online, they focus a lot on cultural stuff, Black Lives Matter, transgender. Not a lot of talk about, we have a murderous, predatory health insurance industry that's screwing MAGA supporters, not all people.
If you sit down with most people, they'll agree with you. It literally doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum, most people will agree with you that, we'd be better off with single payer. So why are they voting for, I think one is just our political system the way it is. It doesn't really reward people that go against the grain like that. But it's the culture war issues, too, that rope people in. And it just blows my mind it takes more importance than everyday stuff like this.
When you're at that level and you have that much power and you have that much influence over people, like you said, it's distractibility politics. He's going after minorities, he's going after marginalized people. And I think that to unify this country is going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of introspection. It's going to take a lot of people giving up privileges. I'm a gay black man, and so, I'm kind of on the lower end in some areas, but in terms of manhood, for example, I have a privilege. So I need to watch out how I treat women. I need to watch my misogyny. I need to give up those privileges in order to live in a better world, right? I need to say, okay, there's some things that I'm allowed that women aren't allowed, and in order to make this equal, I need to give that up. I think doing that work is really hard. I think when you have been given the privilege in this country for a long time, it's hard to let it go because you're so attached to it culturally. And so I think that people like Kirk, who whip up this frenzy, are giving someone a reason to not do the internal work. They're saying, no, I don't have to give up my privilege. These trans people, they want the privilege of going to whatever bathroom they want. I don't have to give up my privilege. It's these immigrants, they just want to come up here and use our money. And it's like, he takes the idea of self-examination off the table and gives you someone else to blame. And in a society where everything is so difficult and life is so toxic, that's very alluring.